Hello, hello. I am Ben Pick, and this is Writing to Write, where I used to give questionable writing advice through writing metaphors, but have since switched over to hosting productivity sprints. And hopefully, there's nothing wrong with your audio. My throat is just gone. I am currently sick. I am all kinds of congested and all that fun stuff. So I'm a lot scratchier than normal. Hello, and welcome back to the new year. We are in 2026. We have made it out of 2025. We are now in 2026. Things are already spicy. Richard, hello. Thank you for joining and for hanging out on this Monday night. Addie, thank you as well. Happy New Year, all. Yeah. So the week before Christmas, Adrienne was in the office. There was somebody who was sick there. And then she was sick for about 2 weeks. I might be able to heal faster than that. We'll see. I guess I really got sick Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday was when I got noticeably sick. Continuing to work out probably didn't help it. So I've been sick for about a week. Hopefully I'll be able to get better. I'm feeling much better, so hopefully I'll get better soon. It is a new year. Let's see. Am I taking time off work? No. I took off a week around Christmas. I think I took one sick day on New Year's Eve day. But even then, I still put in like a couple hours of work. So I guess I just took a nap and then didn't really do a whole lot in the afternoon. Didn't really take off enough time. Oh, well. But what this does mean is that I have finished watching Stranger Things. And oh boy, that, well, Netflix all over the place. I guess I'm not going to go into full spoilers. If you want, there's the internet for that. But there are plot holes, drop characters, drop plot threads, inconsistencies, the works. Yeah, I'll go into a little bit more during the first break. I'll talk about some of my thoughts. There won't be spoilers again, but for a show that had 9 years to do something, and for a show that started off really strong. I mean, the seasons 1, seasons 2, there were stakes, there was weight, there was character development, there were all kinds of things. And then this just became standard Netflix. So I don't know. Yeah, it is really funny. Was it Billy Bobby Brown? Billy Brown? Either way, the character who plays 11 is just starting to be a indicator that the show has just no substance, no quality whatsoever. And as far as acting goes, I would say that a lot of the characters were significantly better when they were younger, and they have since aged into worse acting. I don't know if they just picked up bad habits, if they just phoned it in and they didn't have as much time to prepare, if they had somebody felt like they had outgrown their coaches or whoever, because I'm sure when they were younger they had some kind of acting coaches who they interacted with. I don't know, but it was just bad all around. So whatever. Yeah. But I had a really fun New Year's. I played Lord of the Rings, this Lord of the Rings board game. We did not we got the ring to Mordor. No. Technically, we lost like a turn before we got the ring to Mordor. And even had we gotten it to Mordor, to Mount Doom, we would not have succeeded. So I'm definitely going to play the game again with my wife, and we'll try and actually win the Lord of the Rings. But moral of the story is that it is a lot harder than it seemed, and the success, the chances of success was not fully conveyed by the movies, because it's very action and heroic and everything, but like they were astronomically lucky to have gotten as far as they did and to have gotten the defeated Sauron. And actually, since I mentioned it, I will uh, say how Lord of the Rings. Sorry, I'm trying to fix my microphone stand. How Lord of the Rings relates to Stranger Things, because the final episode of Stranger Things was just over 2 hours long. An hour and maybe 10 minutes in, they had defeated the villain. And so for 45 to 50 minutes, it was just a victory lap that they did not earn, that they were just trying to show off a whole bunch of things, which means that the climactic showdown that had been 5 seasons running, that had been built up for 5 seasons, was over in less than 10 minutes, probably only 5 minutes of actual runtime. And the epilogue, the coda, the, like I said, victory lap, whatever you want to call it, that was yeah, the epilogue was more than 4, 5 times longer than the climax, so that's always fun. Yeah, there was definitely a controversial scene. I don't have a problem with that scene per se, but again, that scene lasted longer. Like Richard said, that scene lasted longer than the climax of the show. So, from a plot related standpoint, and if you measure things in terms of importance based on the amount of screen time that they have, that character's development was much more important than any final showdown, any climactic moment, any real plot development that had been set up for 5 seasons. So, yeah, yeah, disappointing. And yes, there's a lot more to go on about this, but I want to start writing because I got a lot to do. So, but I have a lot that I want to get done today. So, starting up 30 minutes, and I will see you all on the other side of that. Welcome back, everyone, and thank you for hanging out for the first of my productivity sprints. Ooh, Richard, looks like you start off. Oh, fair enough. I guess if you truly didn't need it, makes sense to delete it, but that still sucks. I don't know. When I'm in those situations, I always have like a folder of things I cut and then just remove in case I want to draw from the verbiage. Anyways, yeah, this was pretty productive. I did some very subtle tweaks, changing things, flushing details out. There were some, I don't know the best way of putting it, but there's some parts of the chapters that I read through, and I could understand how if you didn't get what I was trying to say, how it would come off as weird, or if you. So basically, I will say something and then clarify it like two paragraphs later. But if you don't understand what I'm trying to say in the first part, then you'll get confused, and then you'll have to um, adjust what you previously thought, and that can take people out of the story. So that's something that I'm was commented on by a few of the people who have read my book or read the manuscript, and so that's something I'm trying to address. So I think I've found solutions to it, although it makes the story a little bit more choppy, even if it does clarify the details. So it is character thinking about a different character, and then later on I say that by the way, that second character is somewhere else. But if you read through, it was unclear where that second character was until I come to the end and say the second character is elsewhere. It's very confusing. It's very more mental, cerebral. That's intentional because there's a lot of mental connections that are being formed and psychic links in this book. So it isn't very straightforward to say, like I want to convey certain things, but I don't want to outright say like, "Hey, this is my thought. This is this one character's thought. This is this other character's thoughts," and like they're not quite meshing well or whatever. So yeah, bit complicated there. I'm going to take about a minute to talk about Stranger Things, and then that's probably going to be the last time I talk about it. So let's see. I did already mention how it is like Lord of the Rings, where they have the multiple endings, but again, completely unearned because Lord of the Rings is a fantastic story that shows what it takes to triumph over evil. And like I mentioned, as somebody who has played the board game, it takes a lot. A lot needed to go right, a lot needed to fall into place, a lot of things within the fellowship needed to mesh um and yeah, a lot of things needed to mesh and to fall into place in the exact right way for certain things to succeed when all hope was lost. And that's what a lot of Lord of the Rings' theme is. It's to not give up even when all hope seems lost and to believe in your friends, to believe in the fellowship, to fight through severe adversity. There are so many core tenets of what it means to be human that we can glean from the Lord of the Rings. And because of that, yeah, sure, we want to see everybody have their happy ending. We care about these characters. Within just 3 movies, theatrical versions, I'll cut out the extended versions. So 3.5 each. So that is 7, 10.5 hours. Well, let's round up to say 11. Or let's round down to say 10, whatever point I'm trying to prove. Within just 10 hours, we are so attached to those characters that I at least, I know a lot of people weren't, but I at least was willing to give them their 30-minute send off to show us where all the characters go and what happens to them and how, in a montage as quickly as they can, how they are both changed and have grown from their wonderful adventure because the Shire is this lovely, peaceful home, but it no longer feels like home for Mary and Pippin and Frodo and Sam. And then Sam decides to have a family, and Frodo goes off to heaven, basically, and how all that feels very earned. Whereas with Stranger Things, there's a scene with four characters sitting together, and my only thought was I've seen those characters interact in pairs and very occasionally as you know teams of three, but I don't actively remember all four of those characters interacting together and being friendly and being friends. And I know they, two of them were antagonistic and it was this whole friends to not lovers thing, but they make it seem like it's this momentous moment, and the audience is the one who's filling in all the gaps that the writers didn't include. And so again, the plot holes, whatever, that's already out there. The themes dissolved into nothing. And it is very Netflixian, where it is just paper thin. And I was going somewhere with that. Sorry. Like when you take all that away, there's nothing that, oh, it's very much like Lost. So it's the theories that were going into Lost before it finished were just outstanding. They were incredible. They were thoughtful. They tied all the threads together. And what we got with Stranger Things was very similar, where there were so many fan theories and so many ideas and so many character interactions and so many themes that they wanted that fans wanted developed, that just dissolved, that came to nothing. And what we got were scenes that didn't matter. Like I said, with those four characters, who cares? Um, I actually dislike those characters more because that scene exists than I would have if they didn't have that send off. Like, or if that send off lasted for a minute and it just sort of showed them on the rooftop and they didn't say anything, because there's really nothing that they could say that would tie the bridge to show that those four characters actually like each other collectively as a group. There were also um, a passing of the torch to the younger generation beyond just the kids who were the main characters, their younger siblings. And that was completely unearned because it had no weight. If you take out all the scenes with those characters in it, there's no change to the plot. There's no change to anything. The events would still happen and we might not fully understand them, but there is no change to watching the show, because a lot of the information that we gain from those character interactions didn't matter. It didn't have any payoff. For example, there was this Loki Pokey stick or Loki Pokey stone, the MacGuffin, whatever. It's the same thing as the cube from Avengers, which I may colloquially call the Loki Pokey stone, where it's just a MacGuffin. And sure, you can throw something in there, but there's no understanding of what that is, why it exists, where it came from. And I know that there is a play that was created that you can watch and explains it, but apparently between the show and the play, there are already inconsistencies. So there is no truth in there. And sure, you can say something about how like the characters have their own interpretations and blah, 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 whatever. But if what we're watching, there's no consistency, then nothing actually matters. And if nothing matters, then we don't care about the characters. We don't care about watching the show. And so, much like with Lost, I'm sure people will continue to rewatch the show and try and gain more meaning from what's there. But the simple fact is, the writers gave up. They didn't care, or they were too busy, or there was enough time because they had quite literally years to do this. And the actors once, like, everything's where it fell through. And worse than that, the writers put in some blatant self-inserts that just felt completely out of place within the story of Stranger Things, except that they wanted to say something. And so instead of saying something through themes or subtlety or anything like that, it's just the writers putting themselves into the positions of the characters, or possibly the characters putting themselves out there, and in a way which just breaks up the show and takes away its meaning. So ultimately, this isn't as bad as Stranger as Game of Thrones, which just completely dropped the ball, because this, at least there is some logical flow to it. It's just a disappointing end. And so it's more like Lost, where it's just going to be forgotten. Sure, somebody will go through and rewatch it, but it's also on Netflix. So eventually Netflix won't renew it, and or won't keep in syndication or whatever. So this will just this was such a pop culture icon. And at some point, it's just going to fade away to nothing. Whereas a lot of other pop culture icons sort of have lasting power. This doesn't, because after season 2, things got progressively worse. And in this final season, it is just paper thin. It is nothing but nostalgia. It is Ready Player One. It's Ready Player One, where there are just these useless um references to better movies, to better shows, and they will dress one of the characters up like Rambo, and they're wearing the exact outfit of Rambo. And the memes for this are going to far outlive the show itself, but they are making fun of the show, where they do other these two characters who had no within the confines of the show, they had no chemistry, but the actors themselves had chemistry together. And so somebody did this fantastic cut of those characters interacting together with merged with I think it was like a song or some musical or whatever, and it's perfectly timed for the love beats, even though those characters, according to the plot, had nothing in common, or they weren't romantic interests. So yeah, yeah, there's a lot of things, bad self inserts for the characters, for the actual actors, for the script writers, whomever. The story is just disappointing. The only good thing I will say about this is that the final scene, more or less, was really good. So there's a scene with the kids, whoever survives, spoilers, whatever, I don't care. Everyone survives, nobody dies, except for the one character they brought back for the sole purpose of killing off to show there were stakes, even though that actor was so bad that everybody assumed that she was evil because of how she was playing her own role. And it's not like oh, I wonder if she's evil. It's like, no, no, no. The way she's playing it makes it seem like it's evil, but she's not actually evil. It's really dumb. If that was intentional, that is really dumb. If it wasn't intentional, then she's the bad actress. And yes, exactly. Nostalgia without meat. So the whole time I was watching this with my wife, we were yelling at the screen, being like, that's a dumb reference. That's a plot hole, like this, that, and the other thing. And it just doesn't make sense. But the final scene, it's the kids coming together. It was actually pretty good. I do like that the one character who may or may not have died, they left ambiguous. And so it's up to one kid's keen perceptions to figure out whether or not that character lived. If they did live, the hoops that needed to be jumped through, you know, extend beyond the levels of believability, because a character would have to have survived bleeding out from a stomach wound for multiple hours to um to pull everything off. But again, that final scene, it did hit pretty well with me. It was a group of friends saying goodbye, recognizing they're going to go off and leave for college, and this is the last time that they're kids together, hanging out in somebody's basement, and it was a whole bunch of fun. I didn't like the pass the torch moment, but the final send off was actually pretty good. And I said as much to my wife, and my wife looked at me and she's like, "Yeah, of course you liked it. It was trite as hell." Meaning it was basic. It was predictable. It was feel good. So that's really what this show will come down to, where something within one of those endings of across the 45 minutes will strike a chord with the audience, whomever was watching it. And if they can look past all the plot holes, all the inconsistencies, all those issues, all the paper thing, plot, character setting, whatever, um, yeah. If Netflix is playing to the least common denominator, because it tried to have that final thought about the show be like, you know what, that was actually a good ending. But I can do both. I can recognize that one, 5 minutes out of the 45-minute ending is pretty good, but that's in no way offsetting the hours of disappointment that went into it. So, my thoughts on Stranger Things. I talked enough to actually outlast the climax of the show, because that climax was less than 10 minutes interspersed. So, meaning that the actual runtime of the characters in a fight was probably only 5 minutes, I guess. I don't know. Um, but yeah, that's enough of that. So I'm never going to talk about Stranger Things again, because it's already out of the pop culture. It didn't care enough to leave a lasting impression. So, end of Stranger Things. I'll probably yell at it with my wife occasionally, or need it as a I will continue to use it as a reference for least common denominators, for disappointing shows, etc. But in terms of actual conversations, that's probably going to be it for me. Um, but hey, Miss Page, welcome, welcome, welcome. That's awesome. 1,400 words is pretty good. And so, I am going to pull up a switch, and so I'm going to instead just do 2 productivity sprints. So 2 30-minute sprints, because I wanted to dig into that and vent with you all about Stranger Things. So let's do another 30-minute productivity sprint. I will do a really quick pass on the chapter I finish. Then we'll finish chapter 5, move on to chapter 6, and we'll call it a night. So I will see you all on the other side of 30 minutes. Good luck. Hello, and welcome back to the second productivity sprint that we just finished up. I didn't really get too started in that chapter. Or, I'm sorry, I finished up chapter 5, and then I got about a fourth of the way done with chapter 6. So I'm going to copy all of my edits over into Readsy, where I have everything stored and saved almost on the cloud. Really just somebody else's computer. And I will check in with you, and then it's going to be time for dinner. So let's see here. Yep. 2,771 words for that chapter. All right. Cool, cool, cool. Save that, close that, and we are good to go. Well, welcome back, everyone. Like I said, I'm only going to do 2 sprints for tonight because I went off on a very bad Stranger Things rant, and that's going to be the last time I talk about that show. Huge thanks to my wife. She heard that my throat was really scratchy, so she came down here with a nice tea with some lemon and honey in it, which really worked wonders. So thank you, thank you, thank you. EL Summers, awesome to hear from you. I hope you had a wonderful New Year's. And just to let you know, I did submit for to be a vendor at Balticon. So I'll find out in 3 months if I got accepted. Let's see here. Nicole, hey, yeah. Adriana is awesome. Miss Page, you made 355 words that round. Way to go, way to go, way to go. I'm glad that we're all starting productive. It's the first productivity sprint of the new year, for me at least. And I'm really glad to be here. I'm really glad that you all showed up and that we got to hang out and write together. I will do a better job of talking less next time because I'm not going to go off another rant. This week, I'm going to be continuing on chapter 6. I'm going to do another pass on chapter 5 because I did a lot of subtle changes there, and I want to make sure everything sort of filters through. I might be able to work on chapter 8, so I can do 5 tomorrow, 6, 7. I'm going to try and get up to chapter 8 by next Monday so that I can work on it then. And yes, Miss Page, thank you. I agree. This year is going to rock. I'm going to be away for most of the weekend. There's a local video gaming conference across the street from me at the National Harbor called MagFest. So I'll be hanging out there. I don't know how much of it I'll be there for. Plan on going on Friday night. Plan on being there most of Saturday, but I will try and also get in some workouts, some running, the usual weekend stuff. So I think I can feasibly get to chapter 8 by Monday and work on it with all of you. I would have loved to get up to chapter 10, but I don't think I'm going to be able to do 5 chapters this week. So with that in mind, I will see you all. Yeah. Thanks, Lauren. Rants are entertaining. Yeah, they are. But yeah, I will see you all next Monday night. Welcome to 2026. Let's get writing. Starting on next month, I will be delivering my manuscript to a developmental editor. I'll still be working on it during that time, so I'm still going to have my regular productivity sprints. But I'm taking active steps to publish this novel this year. We'll see how well it goes. I make no promises, but that is my goal. So, find Arizona. Nice. Yeah, hopefully I'll see you on next Monday sprint too, Miss Amy Page. Great to hear from you. And I wish you all a wonderful, wonderful week. So thank you and have a great day.